Well, I told you guys yesterday that we were going to get to Tua and Jalen Hurts today, but once again, something else has come up that I just feel like is a bigger story. So maybe we'll get to them tomorrow. I have been telling you guys for months that I feel like we're in the middle of a seismic change in media. And more specifically, I think we're in the middle of seismic changes at ESPN in their position as the worldwide leader in sports. That phrase, or that adjective to describe ESPN, it has been true my entire lifetime. They have been the worldwide leader in sports. I don't feel like that's the case anymore. For my entire 36 years on this earth, if you are a broadcaster in sports, an analyst, radio, TV personality, ESPN was the goal. If you found a way to get a job at ESPN, you had made it. You had made it to the top of your profession. It was the dream for a lot of people. For many in the profession in 2020, ESPN is no longer the dream. I remember when Dan Patrick left ESPN. I believe it was in the summer of 2007. He left ESPN to go out on his own. Now, at the time, most people thought it was career suicide. How would Dan Patrick remain relevant without the massive platform that ESPN provides? Instead, Dan Patrick succeeded on his own. And I feel like he has a bigger presence now than he did when he was at ESPN. Dan Patrick paved the way for others. Once people saw that you could actually make it outside of Bristol, Connecticut, they began to follow his lead, slowly at first, but it's picking up over time. Colin Cowherd left ESPN for Fox Sports 1, which at the time was a new, struggling cable channel. Colin Cowherd has flourished. A couple of weeks ago, Dan Le Batard left. Now, I'm not a fan of Dan Le Batard, but he will be fine outside of ESPN. Trey Wingo didn't have his contract renewed. Went out, started his podcast on his own, started his own platform. And now, we can add Tom Rinaldi to that list. The news came out yesterday that Tom Rinaldi was leaving ESPN for Fox Sports. He had been at ESPN since 2003, and he was really their go-to guy across multiple sports. You have guys like Kirk Herbstreit, who is used strictly for college football. That's it. Lee Corso, college basketball. Tom Rinaldi did everything. PGA Tour, college football, the NFL, horse racing, the NBA. If the network needed an interesting story, kind of like a short documentary, Tom Rinaldi was the guy who got that assignment. The New York Post did an interview with him about his departure, and some of what Tom Rinaldi said was kind of interesting. He didn't say anything negative about ESPN or anything like that, which is to be expected. Though I will say, I think over the next few years, we're going to start to see books come out by former ESPN employees or sports personalities about what it's like to work there. And once one person has the courage to publish a book on that subject, others will follow suit. Tom Rinaldi said that he left ESPN because Fox could offer him more than ESPN could. Now, he didn't get into specifics, but I think what he was talking about was the opportunity to cover the Super Bowl or the World Series, which ESPN doesn't have the broadcast rights to. What I found most interesting of all, though, Tom Rinaldi didn't even give ESPN the opportunity to even negotiate a new contract with him. He didn't give them the opportunity to match the deal that he was getting from Fox. He simply just wanted out. That was it. Simple as that. He then added that his departure from ESPN wasn't him stepping away from something. It was him stepping towards something. Now that to me speaks volumes. It's almost as if he's saying that he's outgrown ESPN and he's jumping aboard the surging freight train at Fox Sports instead of remaining on the sinking Titanic known as ESPN. I can't help but wonder if ESPN's decision to go woke is having an impact on some of these high-profile personalities leaving the network. I mean, it seems like every other week, ESPN is losing a big name. We have never seen this type of exodus before at the network. We talked about Dominique Foxworth yesterday. To my knowledge, management at ESPN did not discipline him for his comments about Josh Allen. Now, if the roles were reversed and a white on-air personality had made similar statements about Russell Wilson or Lamar Jackson, they would have been fired on the spot. Instances like that, it just makes me wonder if it bothers some of these other on-air talents at ESPN and kind of pushes them out the door of the network. ESPN's finding themselves in the same predicament that the WWE has been in the last few years. The WWE used to be known as the mecca of professional wrestling. If you walked up to someone on the streets of Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, any city in America, and you mentioned pro wrestling, the first company that comes to mind is WWE, Vince McMahon. That is beginning to change. Much like ESPN, the WWE has been suffering declining ratings for the past few years. I Googled the ratings for their Monday night show, and this past Monday night was the lowest rated show in the history of the company. There's a new wrestling company, AEW. Their show comes on TNT, and from what I can tell, they're beginning to draw fans away from the WWE. They're also starting to draw talent away from WWE, kind of like Fox Sports 1 has been pulling talent from ESPN for the past few years. WWE's biggest problem right now is they don't create homegrown stars anymore. Vince McMahon used to be a master at creating stars. Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Steve Austin, John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, all the guys that we grew up watching. Even if you didn't watch the WWE 80s and 90s, you had still heard of these guys because they were mainstream level stars. That doesn't happen anymore. I haven't watched the WWE in years, and I couldn't tell you one star in that company. The same thing is happening at ESPN. Just think about it. Who was the last star that ESPN has created? Who was the last Aaron Andrews, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless? I can't name one. I can't think of one person that ESPN has made into a star over the last 3, 4, 5 years. If anything, they do the opposite. ESPN creates on-air talent that the bulk of their audience find revolting. People like Jamel Hill or Max Kellerman. Other than Scott Van Pelt, if I asked you on the spot, who else anchored SportsCenter? Could you name anybody? You could in the 90s. Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann, Stuart Scott, Steve Levy, Robin Roberts. It's been 25 years, and I can name all those off the top of my head. Now, publicly, management at ESPN is going to paint a rosy picture of the network. Everything is fine. Oh, we wish Tom Rinaldi well. We wish him the best, but we have other excellent storytellers at the network. We find ourselves in demand. But privately, I think they're scared to death. I think ESPN is scared to death right now. I believe they're worried. For the first time in the network's existence, the talent doesn't need the network. They don't need the platform. They have other options like Fox Sports, or they can strike out on their own and distribute their own content, while at the same time not being handcuffed by some bureaucrat in a suit telling you what you can and can't say. I've been telling you guys for months that ESPN is in trouble. We're going to continue to see big name talent leave the network. Think about this too. When is the last time we heard an announcement about ESPN hiring some big name away from another network? We keep hearing about talent leaving the network, but when is the last time news broke of ESPN hiring someone away from Fox Sports or CBS or Sports Illustrated? We haven't. The secret's out. You don't need ESPN anymore to make a name in this industry. Perception is reality, and right now the perception is ESPN's a sinking ship. They're the Titanic. Fox Sports 1 is flourishing. They're the new kid in town, while ESPN continues to see their ratings decline. Thing is, in the short term anyway, I don't know what ESPN can do to rectify this situation. They have alienated so much of their audience with this woke garbage. And not just this year. It's been happening for years. A lot of people just refuse to watch ESPN anymore because they're tired of the woke politics. The promotion of people like Caitlyn Jenner, who they gave their Courage Award to several years ago at the ESPYs. Guys like Dominique Foxworth trashing Josh Allen because his fans had the audacity to fly the American flag. Guys like Jalen Rose saying it's unfair that anytime Jimmy Garoppolo is mentioned, the first thing people say about him is he's handsome, while they don't say the same thing about Lamar Jackson because Jalen Rose thinks because he's black. People are sick of that garbage. We tune into ESPN to watch and hear opinions on sports, not woke politics, not social justice. And people don't have to tolerate it anymore because there are too many other options, too many other outlets to get your sports fix. ESPN is no longer the only game in town. You don't have to watch ESPN to find out what's going on in sports. You can watch FS1. You can head over to YouTube. Simply put, ESPN is no longer the mothership, which is what Dan Patrick used to call them when he anchored SportsCenter in the 90s. They are no longer the mothership. They're no longer the end-all be-all. They're no longer the worldwide leader in sports. Right now, ESPN is the Titanic, slowly sinking to the bottom of the sports ocean. All right, that's all for today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Leave me a comment in the section below. Do you guys think we're going to continue to see high-profile talent leave ESPN? And has the wokeness at the network turned you off to the point where you no longer watch ESPN? And if so, where do you get your sports news and opinion from? You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time.